Karen, a conversation about metaphysics just isn't complete without touching on spirits.
No, it's not.
It's not, right?
No.
And what's another word for spirits?
Ghost?
Ghosts. Yeah. Well, today we're diving into the paranormal side of metaphysics and chatting with someone who's an expert at ghost hunting.
Ooh.
Yeah, she is such an expert that she's actually written a book on the subject. It's called The Witch's Guide to Ghost Hunting, that's now available on Amazon. And we're going to dive into just how to do it right, because there is a right and a wrong way to do it.
Am I going to have to watch like a little funny movie after this before bed?
I think you probably will. Yes.
You know, I believe everything and,
Yeah.
and
Well,
visualize.
yeah. Well, she's actually going to talk to us especially about how to do it right, but also how we can experience our own strange, scary, and exciting world of paranormal investigations. My name is Will.
And I'm Karen.
And unlike Mulder and Scully,
we both want to believe.
so we've embarked on a journey of discovery.
We've talked to people deeply entrenched in the spiritual and metaphysical world.
We've thrown ourselves into weird and wonderful experiences. I even joined a coven of witches.
And wait, you joined a coven?
Yep, all in the interest of finding something
Anything.
that will prove that there's something beyond this physical,
three-dimensional world we all live in.
This is the
The
Skeptic
Skeptic
Metaphysicians. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Skeptic Metaphysicians. I'm Will.
And I'm Karen.
And today's guest has been on the show before, so she's not a stranger to you all. But today we're shifting gears much more deliberately into the paranormal. Her book is The Witch's Guide to Ghost Hunting, and that might bring some questions to mind. Yes, she is a witch, but that's really not what she's here to talk to us about. If you're curious about that, you should go back to our August episode when she was on the show before, when she talked about her witchy side. Instead, I want to introduce Cherise Williams to the show as a ghost hunter. Cherise, thanks for coming on the show again.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I have so many questions.
So many questions. Well, you know what? I can take a back seat. I get my coffee and let you do the interview. Go for it, Karen.
How brave are you?
I'm the most brave. No.
That's what I would think.
I honestly do get scared. Little self promo here. I'm going to be in a documentary that's coming out soon called Haunted Indiana State Sanatorium. And the director. It's a hospital. That's why I said doctor. The director informed me that he included in the film a part where I was like, I'm really kind of nervous to be doing this. And I'm like, oh, great. So now nobody is going to think that I'm really brave. But
The two words that you said that I just do not put together ever: haunted, sanitarium. No way. You can't. You put those two together and I run the other direction.
I'm about to leave now.
it was good talking to you guys. See ya.
Ensley's out.
All right, Cherise, it's your show. Thank you.
How did you decide you wanted to get involved in all of this?
Ever since I was a little kid, I've loved everything spooky. Halloween, ghost stories. When I was a little kid, my dad would tell me scary stories that probably a child my age shouldn't have been hearing, but I could not get enough of it. I loved being creeped out. So yeah, just my entire life has just been like, I love ghosts. I love creepy things. And when I was a kid, I didn't think that there would be any way that I could do this. You know, the books I was reading, it was always like parapsychologists over in England, like really doing this like great research. And I'm like, all right, so maybe I can be a professor one day. Like that's how I can do this in my life. And then enter reality television. Do you guys remember the show Fear on MTV?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I remember that show. Yeah.
I remember I'm like, they stole my idea. Because I always said how I would love to spend the night in a haunted insane asylum or something like that.
Nope.
Yeah.
See, I like the show because I liked seeing people's reactions who were staying in the sanitarium, but never once did I thought I should do that.
Right?
That's where we differ. Because I was like, man, I want to be there. Although even to this day, I'm like, man, some of those like dares that they had them do, yeah, I wouldn't have lasted just for that reason.
Yeah.
Because
Listen, you turn the lights off in there and I'm already done. I'm already gone. You don't need to do any dares.
You mean you're not going to invite the spirits to like enter your body and stuff like they would do on that show?
Crazy
Yeah.
stuff, right? I mean, that's like literally crazy stuff. Isn't that super dangerous? Like, truly, let's talk seriously here.
I mean, yeah, and some people will say, oh, no, that, you know, it's nothing. But no, I think it 100% is serious. I mean, it's something I talk about in my book as well, of like setting boundaries and, you know, like knowing your energetic limits. Because, yeah, it's completely real. Things can come home with you. Things can attach
Oh,
to you,
God.
especially if you're like giving the option to like, come on, let's see what you can
Put
do.
that next to
Yeah,
this.
there's plenty of spirits that are like, yeah. I mean, crazy things can happen.
Then let's just talk about the elephant in the room, spirits, ghosts, haunted places, that kind of stuff. Are these really trapped spirits? Are these like what are they? What is a haunting exactly?
Nobody knows.
Ooh.
That's the thing. I mean, we all have our opinions, we all have our ideas. There's some really good ideas that make sense, like some theories out there that really kind of, from our understanding of the world, the universe, energetics, and everything, that makes sense. But at the end of the day, nobody really knows. So if there's anybody out there that's like, nope, this is definitely what a haunting is, no, you're guessing, but you don't know for sure. But I think haunting and ghosts really are such a broad umbrella term because, I always say there's the traditional haunting of it is a trapped spirit and, they maybe can't move on because they left some unfinished work or they were murdered in some tragic way. Murdered in a tragic way. Any murder is tragic, right? I had a sanatorium. But then, I mean, there can just be the hauntings you walk into like an old abandoned building and there may not be any actual spirits there, but you can kind of just feel the memories that took place there. That's a haunting. You can be haunted by your memories in your past. So there's so many different types of hauntings and types of ghosts. And I mean, some people even think maybe we're communicating with aliens sometimes when we're doing these investigations. So
Wow. Yeah,
yeah.
I haven't heard that, but I've heard tapping into different dimensions. I've
Mhm,
heard you're reaching back in time or forward in time. There's different
mhm,
different thought processes, but some of these things could potentially be dangerous in as much that you might bring something back with you,
mhm,
or things like that. You've gone to a lot of some of the most haunted places in the country.
mhm.
Are these things, these spirits, these ghosts, are they dangerous physically? Can they harm you physically when you're in those places?
That's really rare. I find more they can mess with you emotionally. And I'm not sure if it's necessarily them making you feel a certain way or it's just yourself like picking up on emotions and feelings and kind of reacting to what you're feeling. That has happened a lot more than physical stuff. But physical stuff does happen. I mean, I've been touched, I've had my hair pulled. I've had a scratch on my chest before. So I mean, yeah, it does happen. It's much more rare than people think. But yeah, it can happen.
When you hear the word haunting, and this is just me trying to make myself feel better now, go to a happy place. You always associate it with negative. I mean, does it necessarily mean a negative thing, or does it just mean could there be a happy ghost there that wants to
Yes,
bring you presents?
absolutely. For
Be
sure.
nice.
Yeah. Human nature, we fear what we don't know. And just because something creeps us out, we're automatically like, oh my God, that must be evil because I feel terrified right now. And that's not always the case, It could just be somebody just popping in being like, oh hey, oh gosh, sorry, I didn't mean to scare you there. And then they leave, but you're sitting there like, oh my God, that was a demon, or there are the hauntings because some people are like, well, what about the ones where they're slamming doors and it just feels angry. Sometimes, yeah, it could be a ghost that's angry. But it could also just be somebody who's very frustrated. They've been trying to communicate to the people in this house. They've been trying to reach out. And I mean, think about how you would feel if you're like trying to talk to the people around you and nobody's listening. Eventually, you're going to be like, oh my God, like pay attention to me, like slam a door, like listen.
Yeah, I
So a
think
lot of the
it's
time, that can be what it is.
so then if someone wanted to get involved, wanted to experience something like this for themselves, what's the best way to approach it? I mean, should you go to one of these haunted places on your own? Do you need to go with a group? I know Karen won't ever go whether with a group or by herself, but if someone wanted to do it, how could someone get involved?
I would suggest going with a group of people for the first time. And there's pretty much any state, and I mean, I can't speak of outside of the country, but pretty much every state has haunted places and you can look them up and they have Facebook pages or websites and you can reserve a time to investigate and you pay money. A lot of people are like, why do I have to pay money to investigate? Well, a lot of the time the money is going right back into restoring or preserving the building. So, which I love, like how ghost hunting and history and preservation and everything kind of correlate with each other. But yeah, you can go and some of the places even have equipment that you can use or somebody there that can kind of help show you what to do. But that's the easiest way. Or even if you don't have any money, you can go to a cemetery if you want. I mean, really, honestly, you could probably even like try to reach out to a spirit in your own backyard if you want.
I'd probably go
'Cause
up to our attic.
they're everywhere.
Attic or basement,
Yeah.
or garage, or driveway, or
Yeah, they're everywhere.
so we've had people on the show that have talked about the fact that doing these kinds of things on your own could be dangerous. Is there anything that you can do to protect yourself if you do start to want to try to call these spirits in or something like that? Is there a way to make sure that nothing gets attached to you or nothing does you any harm?
Just really setting boundaries, those energetic boundaries. I
So,
usually
and that's great, but how do you do that? You
I was
just
gonna
like
tell you.
perfect
You write it down, please.
because we
It's
because
in
we've
my
heard
book, actually.
Oh, well, there you go.
Which is
perfect.
kind
We're
of
getting
concerning. But no, it actually does talk about like how to get started ghost hunting and different ways to protect yourself energetically, or if you do happen to bring something home, how to get rid of that. But it can be just as simple as before you start investigating, saying like nothing is allowed to attach to me, you're not allowed to follow me, you're not allowed to touch me, mess with me, or anything like that. I usually say that whenever I'm leaving an investigation before I get in my car. When I get in my car, I usually just say that out loud to like, not allowed to follow me.
See, that's what I did
Here.
when we first moved in, because the house that we live in now is from 1920, I think.
Yes.
And so I came upstairs. I'm like, all right, if you're here, you can stay as long as you're nice,
Mhm.
but don't freak me out.
Exactly. You got to just set those
Don't touch
boundaries.
me.
Right. So just by saying, "Hey, you're not allowed to," they don't. I would think that they're like, "Oh yeah, that sounds like a challenge to me."
Sometimes, yes. More often than not. And I don't even know if it's necessarily so much as them respecting that boundary of being like, oh, okay, you said that. So now I'm not going to mess with you. I think it's more of just putting that energy and that intention around you. So it's almost like creating this energetic bubble around you that even if they're wanting to connect to you, you've set that energetic boundary, kind of like this bubble, protective bubble around you, and they can't get through it. Sometimes they can. I've set those boundaries before and I've had to stop an investigation and go outside. Actually, in the documentary that I'm going to be in, he also informed me that he put this in there and I didn't know he was even filming. Spoiler alert. I had to go outside. I'm not going to tell you exactly what I did, but I had to go outside and do something to ground myself because it got pretty intense. But so yeah, so every now and then you may have to like stop your investigation and like center yourself and like reset those boundaries. But intention really goes a long way with ghost hunting.
It's so interesting because we've spoken with so many people and we've talked with, mediums and channelers, and they're like, oh, you communicate, but none of them has really told us what it feels like to communicate. So I'm asking you, what does it feel like when you know there's a ghost there and it's maybe not someone that you necessarily want to invite in, or maybe you do, I don't know. But how do you know you're communicating? How does that feel?
I honestly just get excited. Like my heart rate starts going a little bit. One of my intuitive signs, like when I'm doing tarot readings or something and I'm getting intuitive messages, I get like the shivers down my spine. So sometimes that'll happen when I'm communicating with a spirit. A lot of little physical sensations. I get like the ringing in the ear and I'm like, oh, okay, I think there's somebody here. But more often than not, yeah, it's just my heart rate goes up a little bit. You kind of get the butterflies in your stomach. You're like, oh my gosh, like something has changed in the atmosphere here. Yeah.
Oh.
Occasionally it is a creepy feeling. Occasionally, like the time that I was like, okay, I need to go outside. Um, that feels more just like tense, like your whole body just tenses up and you're like, something is not right here.
Yikes. Is it always spirits of humans? Do you ever come across like animal spirits or anything like that?
Yes, I've come across humans, animals. I've had a cat rub up against my leg that wasn't physically there. I've heard cat meows, a dog. I think that's it, just cat and dog. And then elementals. I'm pretty sure I've connected with earth spirits, for lack of a better word, as well as extraterrestrials. So I've connected with a whole wide range of
Wow.
beings.
How do you
At
know?
least that's what I think.
Yeah, well, what makes you think it was an extraterrestrial? Like, how was that experience different?
Well, so I was actually doing the Estes method, which is where you put on headphones and you're listening to a spirit box, cycling through the radio stations, and you put on blindfolds. And the idea is that you listening to the headphones, you can't hear the questions being asked, and you're just saying the words that you think you're hearing, and it removes the bias, hopefully, of, because if you hear a question, you may start to listen to the audio, like waiting to hear a specific response. But if you don't know what questions are being asked, you're just saying what you're hearing. And I was doing that with 3 other people. So all 3 of us had headphones on and the rest of the group was asking questions. And all 3 of us we all kind of got the impression that it was something out of this world, kind of. Just intuitively, that's what we were feeling. And then the things they were saying, it was almost like if you were having a conversation with somebody that's not from here. Like they were trying to use words that they thought that we would understand. And it was just kind of like, It almost was like talking to somebody from a different country who speaks a different language. It was kind of like that, like you were kind of understanding what each other was saying, but it was also a little difficult. But really, it comes down to, I think, intuition, which is so important with ghost hunting, really trusting your intuition as far as who you're talking to and what you're dealing with.
So you do talk in your book about how to develop your intuitive senses so that you
Mhm.
can use it in uh, paranormal investigations and things like that. Do you suggest someone not like me, for example? I may not have an intuitive bone in my body. So you saying you need to really trust your intuition doesn't help me an awful lot. So should I not do this then? I mean, do you really need to kind of be tuned into your feelings for something like that?
No, well, first of all, you are intuitive. Everybody's intuitive. I always talk about it's like, artists or athletes. Some people, it's like they were born, they pick up a paintbrush and they paint a masterpiece. And then some people have to take a bunch of classes and work really hard. And then some people, the best they can do is just paint a stick figure. But no matter what, you can create something, even if it is just that stick figure or it's a masterpiece, like you can still create something. I mean, it's the same with intuition. Some people are just naturally born extremely psychic and intuitive. Other people really kind of have to work on it. So you are intuitive, whether you think so or not. But no,
If
you
you
don't.
say so,
Hey, try the exercises in my book. Maybe
I will. I will try that. I
report
will.
back to me. But no, you don't need to rely on your intuition for ghost hunting. For years, I actually kind of tuned my intuition out because I was working with a group who was very focused on just,
The science.
yeah, like if the equipment doesn't light up, like we're not counting how you feel in this investigation because that can't be proven. Well,
Sure.
equipment can be kind of faulty too. So, but yeah, it adds a layer. It's extremely helpful. The more you can rely on your intuition and trust that and work with that, I just think it kind of helps create a stronger investigation and connection to the other side.
So I do want to go into some of the most memorable experiences that you've had in your time as a ghost hunter. But before we do that, I think I'm actually contractually obligated to ask this question.
Oh, baby. What?
Could it not be wishful thinking that you think you're feeling something or you think you're hearing something? And I mean, when you go into these places, your energy is jazzed, right? You're
Mhm,
charged up, you're expecting things. And people, even in that show Fear that we were talking about before, people saw things that weren't there
mhm.
because they thought they were supposed to or they thought they were there. So how do you know for a fact, for sure? How can you convince yourself for sure that these things are real and not just figments of your imagination?
You can't. You
There
can't
you go.
really. I mean, I know personally I've seen things and felt things and experienced things that I know in my heart of hearts was paranormal and that there wasn't a logical explanation for it. And just too much, I mean, there's too many stories just all from around the world and other people's experiences and stuff for there not to be something. But yeah, that is something that I talk about also in my book. I keep feeling like I'm saying that. So in my book, but no, about the importance of personal development in regards to ghost hunting, as well as like meditating and knowing how to kind of center yourself and calm yourself down. Because yeah, when you go somewhere and your emotions are heightened and you're already freaked out, like you can just continually freak yourself out even more. And then you start to think like everything is a ghost that you're seeing. So it really is important to kind of like, okay, let's breathe for a second, like let's assess what just happened and kind of come at it logically. So trust your intuition, but also trust your logic.
And then what kind of instruments do you use to measure? You talked about the scientific method, the scientific side of this whole thing. Full disclosure, I was part of a ghost hunting group for a very short time and I hated it because I get too freaked out too easily, too quickly. And we had those things where that measured the temperature, measured the now I don't remember what they're called, but they measure different things. So what kind of instruments have you used in the past that has helped?
It really kind of depends because it seems like different spirits prefer different pieces of equipment. I do really have good results with that Estes method that I was talking about of listening to the spirit box with headphones. That has given some really great results. There's also a piece of equipment called the Flux, and it works with electromagnetic fields, which I think is what you were talking about.
That's it. Yep.
And there's a green light and a red light on each side. So, you can have the spirit approach it and light it up red for no and green for yes or something like that. That seems to get a lot of really good results. And then I really like using my tarot cards on investigations also.
So you draw your cards on location, on that
Mhm.
location.
Yeah, I usually do it before the investigation and then during and then even afterwards.
What do you use those for? Do you communicate with the spirits with the cards, or are you just kind
Mhm.
of getting a lay of the land?
A little bit of both. So before investigations, I'll kind of just, what is the overall energy of this location? What is maybe the best way to approach this investigation to kind of help give me a little bit of a game plan of what kind of mental state should I be putting myself in or expecting. And then, yeah, while you're there, sometimes I don't know if they just don't want to mess with the equipment or it's difficult for them to mess with it. But I find that the tarot cards, because when you're reading for a living human being, you're connecting to their energy, you're connecting to, essentially their spirit, and you don't need to have their physical body there to do that. Like most of my readings, I do distance readings. So it's the same thing when reading for a spirit. You're just essentially connecting to their energy, to the spirit. And so it's a good way to kind of open up that communication and get more information than you can with just asking like yes or no questions with light up this equipment for this. You can kind of get more of a story of who they were, or what they need, or what they want.
And we've had someone on the show who was talking to us about life after death. And he was talking about EVPs, electronic voice phenomenon. And after that show was released, a listener reached out to us and said, "Hey, I've got a sample," because I had mentioned on that show that I could never tell. Someone says, "Oh, they said firecracker," and I'm saying I heard, right? I
Yeah.
don't hear really. So she said, "I have something that could show you." So she sent it to me, and darn it, if I still can't hear it, right? So there must be something inside me that just doesn't allow it to
You
happen.
did not share that with me.
No, because she's actually coming on the show on Friday, and didn't want to. Spoiler alert! But anyway, uh,
So you want me to try to figure out
I
or see if
do,
I can hear something?
I do, I
Ah,
do. I'm gonna see if we can figure it out. Yeah.
See, and that's good that you're not telling her because that's the bias thing that I was talking about with, which is why I like the Estes method.
mhm.
Because yeah, if somebody says, listen to this EVP, it says firecracker. You're gonna try to hear firecracker in it. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm very bad at deciphering what EVPs say unless it's like super clear. But yeah, there's so many times they're like, it says I like pie, and all I hear and I'm like, what?
No, it doesn't.
But occasionally, I mean, there have been some really clear responses, especially like I have an EVP of, well, actually, it wasn't even an EVP, it was a disembodied voice. We heard it with our ears of a spirit laughing. So that was pretty creepy. It was like, I was going to do an
You-
impression, but now I feel stupid.
So, Karen, it was a disembodied laugh. What a disembodied laugh is
Well,
not
I
a
mean,
creepy
well,
laugh.
that's very true. Never mind.
I mean, that was creepy. That was one of the most like shocked moments I've ever had. I can send it to you after
This
this.
comes up.
Ooh. Yeah, I'd love
But-
to hear it.
Yeah. But yeah, most of the time EVPs, I'm like, yeah, there's something there, but I have no idea what it's saying.
So I just have to make a quick point, Will, by the way, things you didn't tell Karen. You were, part of a ghost hunting team. Every time I turn around, he's like, oh, I worked at an ice cream shop. I sang in a parade. I was a shoe shine guy. I mean, you name
Okay.
it. He's like, random stuff.
I've never been a shoe shine guy, and I've never sang in a parade. So
Those are examples, but you get the point. There's always just random stuff. Of course, now I'm freaked out about ghosts. I can't think of any of them.
right.
But
Well, then let's talk about some of the most hair-raising experiences that you've had. You've gone to, we talked a little bit about it before we started recording, some of the most haunted places in the country. And, and I'm curious to hear some of your stories because I do follow you on Instagram and I've seen some of your live events when you were at some of them. I had to turn them off quickly because I was too freaked out, but you do have them. So share some of the best stories with us.
And just real quick to add on to that, tell us, did you go during the day or at night? Somehow that'll make a difference for me.
Most of the time I do go at night, although paranormal activity happens at all hours of the day. Everybody's always like, why do you have to investigate at night? Well, for one, it is fun. Like any ghost hunter that tells you like, I'm not doing it just for the fun, like they're lying. No, they're doing it for the thrill of it. That's part of the reason. But I think the big reason we do it at night is the human world is quiet. The human world is more asleep. So you kind of have that falls away and you can kind of focus more on, I think, the spirit world. That's one of many reasons. But yeah, most of the time it's at night. And that's when I think all my creepiest moments have happened. That laugh that I was just telling you about was definitely one of the most startling moments ever. Our walkie-talkies had been going off randomly the whole night. They would just go off for no reason. We're like, oh my gosh, like what is going on? And in the video, the walkie-talkie goes off, and my friend Nat, who I was with, she was like, "Oh my gosh!" And then you hear like somebody that was not one of us laughed like they just thought it was the funniest thing ever. And it freaked me out. I told everybody to shut up because other people were talking. I'm like, shut up, shut up. Did you guys just hear that? So that was really scary. But that's one of those where, yeah, I could have let that completely like freak me out and then just like be out of my mind for the whole night. I let myself be freaked out for a second. Then I'm like, okay, calm down. Like, that was amazing. That's what we're here
Mm.
for. And obviously, like, I don't think that it was somebody trying to be mean. It was somebody that was like just screwing with us. And they're like, like, look at them getting freaked out about the walkie.
Do you remember Scooby Doo and Shaggy?
Yes.
That would be me and Karen. I'm not sure. I'm not sure who would be in whose arms more. She might be carrying me as she runs out the door.
That's hilarious. But see,
Did
that's
it
what
sound
you're
like
there for when you go on these hunts.
Did it sound like an adult laugh, or could you tell?
Yeah, we were actually in a nursing home at that time, and it sounded like an older gentleman. And here's what's crazy. I talked to somebody who used to work at that nursing home, and she said that there was a male patient that was in that hallway, and he was like a jokester. He was a prankster. He liked to play around. So apparently he is still there.
Playing around.
Yeah.
I have goosebumps everywhere.
Nice. You're welcome.
Goes down.
It did feel like it got a little colder in here since we started talking. What can you tell us about this documentary? Because it sounds fascinating.
Yes.
You mentioned what's it going to be called?
It's called Haunted Indiana State Sanatorium, and it should be out soon. So follow my social media for updates. But so in July, I went to Indiana State Sanatorium. That's where we heard the laugh. Amazing location. We then went back in November because we couldn't get enough. Amazing again. And then I got in touch with a director, and he was like, let's do this. So he flew out from California, and we spent 3 days at this location investigating. And yeah, this place does not disappoint. I mean, it does have pretty terrible stories and history, which you'll hear about. Like I said, we had a past employee come, and she kind of walked through the place. It was the first time she'd been there since she worked there, and it was terrible, terrible conditions. So you really hear the human side to these locations. You know, it is so easy to go into these places and just get freaked out and like, oh, the
Mhm.
ghosts. But at the root of it, so many of these hauntings are human stories and human emotions. And so that's kind of a big element of this documentary, as well as us getting pretty freaked out a few times. I mean, we're all like experienced, very brave investigators, but yeah, there were some times that we all were like, what the hell?
How old is it?
So it was a tuberculosis hospital in the 1920s. There's only one of those original buildings now. And then I want to say it was the 1950s. They built a 5-story like dormitory basically for people with mental health issues. And then I think it was the 80s, they built the nursing home. And the nursing home, they eventually just started letting in elderly people as well as people who were going through mental health stuff and needed to like detox from drugs and everything. So you had this crazy mix of like Alzheimer patients with, you know, the police would bring people that they had arrested there to detox. So it's like
Jeez.
or to yeah, it was a chaotic environment. But it officially shut down. I think it was like 2005, maybe. Don't quote me on that. And then yeah, it basically sat empty up until last year.
Where can someone watch it?
I don't know yet. I don't know yet. It should be coming out soon, though. It is in post production. It's been in post production, and I've gotten word that it's almost done. And I will know where it's going to be released and when soon.
That's exciting.
Yes,
So, what is the most haunted place in the country?
Indiana State Sanatorium.
Is it really the?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, yeah, I haven't been everywhere, like you know, to every location. So
Mhm.
I don't know. Maybe there is something more haunted out there, but of all the places I've been, this place is by far the most active haunted place ever. And I've been there, yeah, like total of 5 different nights now, and every single time, and during the day, we've investigated during the day, and things happened. Yeah, every time I've been there, I've seen things, I've heard things. It's a wild location.
So you say it's very active, the most
Mhm.
active that you've seen.
Hmm.
Do you get a feeling whether there's malice there, or is it just playful spirits? Because there's a difference between haunted places and haunted places. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah. Um, well, okay, so there's nothing evil there. And this is kind of what I was talking about. Just because a spirit may seem angry or even a little aggressive doesn't mean that they're demonic or evil. And this also goes back to, we need to remember the human side to this. So there is a spirit in the mental health facility part of the building that he was not a pleasant person when he was alive. He was violent and aggressive and angry and took it out on the people who lived in the building with him as well as the employees. And he has carried that over with him into the spirit world. So he's definitely one that we've had to set a lot of boundaries with. We've even had to remove ourselves from the area because he's pretty aggressive. But again, it's one of those like I'm very protective of the spirits at this place because I was one of the first people to get to go investigate here. And so I think that kind of I built a bond with these spirits. And so I always hope that people, you can be firm and set boundaries without being a jerk.
Mhm.
Like, would you treat somebody face to face, a living person who has mental health problems, who, yeah, maybe they're angry and aggressive and mean, but are you going to be, verbally abusive to them and things like that? I would hope not. I mean, you're going to set your boundaries and you're not going to let them hurt you or be mean to you.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing with spirits,
You bring up an interesting point because everybody that we've talked to has said that we're much more than our brains and our thoughts.
Mhm.
And yet you're alluding to the fact that these folk or these spirits might still be having some mental challenges after they've passed.
Mhm.
That's interesting to me because that flies in the face of everything that everyone's talking about. So, and I think it goes to the question about what are they, right? Because if it's just energy that's stuck, then it makes sense it would get stuck with that same mental challenge energy in it. But if it is a person that is stuck, that who's still exhibiting mental challenges, that makes me a little bit more nervous about life after death because I don't want to be who I am now back over there.
Yeah. I want to progress.
Nice.
Now you guys are going to be stuck forever. No, I don't know. I think it depends on the person. And I mean, nobody really knows why people stay back. Maybe he doesn't even know that he is dead. Maybe he just thinks that he's still alive and he's living his life. Or, you had mentioned the different, not time zones, different
Dimensions.
yeah, like maybe we're just connecting to him. He's still alive in, 1963 or whatever. And that's what we're connecting with is him actually alive, but in a different time.
No, I knew I was smart, but I didn't realize just how smart. So you just pointed out my answer from an hour ago.
See, you're intuitive. You knew that we were going to be talking about
Oh,
you.
look at her throwing me under the bus. Nice.
Now, I know you can't tell too many things because you've got this documentary coming out, but can you tell us, you did say you've seen things. Can you just tell us one of the things you've seen? And before you answer, by the way, well, I would like to be stuck with you forever. So
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Yeah, what a way to cover up.
whatever.
so precious. But you mean what I've seen at Indiana State or just
Yes.
what I've seen in general?
Yeah, just an example.
Yeah, because I'm like, I don't know. Now I need to remember when I was there versus when we filmed. I've seen some shadow things.
Like a shadow with nothing making the shadow.
Mm.
Oh. All right. When's this documentary coming out?
Oh, I can't wait. I want to see it.
Anyways.
You're gonna have to watch a bunch of little kitten videos on YouTube afterwards. Yeah,
I don't know because you just told her about the cat spirit you run into.
I know.
True.
That's going to ruin her for cats now.
Oh, more little kitty ghosts.
All right. I mean, this documentary it sounds fascinating, and I cannot wait to watch it because I hate scary stuff, and yet I love scary stuff. If you know
Well,
what
they
I'm
don't
saying.
like
So,
this.
yeah.
And then apparently, I don't know if he's going to get mad at me for saying this. There is something that we captured that we weren't aware of capturing until it was in editing and the footage was being reviewed. I haven't even seen it yet, but apparently this is something that is going to blow your mind when you see it. And I
Oh.
haven't even seen it yet. So
Wow. Yeah,
I'm
you
very
hear about
excited.
that all the time. It's like they took pictures and look who's that face in there. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I'm very excited to see this documentary as well.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it because, we went to Charleston, South Carolina not long
Ooh,
ago, and we did
super
one of those
haunted.
ghost tours, right? And of course, the guy's got these pictures and says, "Look at this picture," and you could tell that this is a spirit child, and there you can plainly see a what it looks like a spirit child sitting next to someone that wasn't supposedly there.
Hmm.
But that could be explained by double exposure photography and things like that. And you just never know with these ghost hunting things. But
Yeah.
video, well, that's totally different horse of a different color, right? I'm really,
Hmm.
really interested to see what that's about. But I will only watch it in bright daylight with 50 of my closest friends.
I like that.
Some anyways.
Yeah.
I
Well,
love it.
that's almost the good and the bad about knowing you because, well, if it's from her, it's going to be true. It's not like
Yeah.
someone photoshopped this in, but now like, oh gosh, do
Yeah.
you want to see it?
Yeah.
I have to believe it.
That's why I was glad working with this director because that was like the first time I talked to him. That was something that we both talked about of like not faking anything, like there's no need, like the paranormal's weird enough on its own, like shocking enough stuff happens, like there's no need to fake anything or stage anything, we just wanted to capture genuine, real human emotion and spirits and
Right. Have you ever
yeah.
gone someplace that's been billed as super haunted and active only to find that it was a dud for you?
Yeah. I don't
You
want to
have.
throw the location under the bus. If you follow me on social media, I did a top 10 of my most haunted of 2021 of the locations I went to. So if you really want to dig, you can figure out what I'm talking about. But, and I'm not saying that this location isn't haunted because I've had enough, like a couple little things happen there that, like, I think that, yeah, there must be something there. But I've been there 3 different times now. And every time I went, I was just like, I don't know what people are talking about. And other people are like, "This place is so haunted." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't
Notice
feel
that.
anything. I
Notice that.
nothing." Yeah.
So we're going to add direct links to your social media on our
Okay.
show notes. So if you're interested in reaching out to Cherise or to following her on social media, you can always go to skepticmetaphysician.com, go to her episode page, and you will find all the direct links there. So it's kind of an easy one-click stop into her world, which is super fascinating. Before we go, talking about this sanitarium in Indiana,
Mhm.
you've talked about having been there several times. Can someone just show up by themselves in the middle of the night and get into it? How abandoned is it? Do you have to? You mentioned early on about paying to get some of these sites. Is this something that people can just show up to, or is there
No.
you got to go through a certain?
Yeah, they have a Facebook page and you can book through there. You have to like pick a day on their calendar and they have different prices for if it's like a weekday or night. They also have like just daytime tours. So if you guys are ever in Indiana and you just want to do like a daytime tour, you can just walk through the buildings. I mean, because this place is huge. It's like this gigantic property in the middle of the woods. There's the 3 huge main buildings. So you can have a lot of fun exploring.
Karen shaking her
But
head.
yeah,
No.
you should go. But yeah, you definitely need
Drop you
to
off, Will.
book or,
Yeah.
you could get in trouble for trespassing.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, nighttime, daytime, anytime. Karen's not time there. No.
No.
No time for Karen.
No. Right. Well, your book is called again, The Witch's Guide to Ghost Hunting. It is available on Amazon right now, so you can actually look for it. We'll go ahead and add a direct link to that book on Amazon on our show notes as well, so you can access it easily and quickly. And in the book, you could read about all kinds of stuff about paranormal investigation, including combining spiritual tools with electronic equipment, what kind of item every ghost hunting witch needs in their kit, how to cleanse your home from unwanted spirits, how to protect yourself and your energy from spirits, how to grow your psychic gifts, to use them on an investigation. She'll give you different spells like banishing, creating protection amulets, all that kind of stuff. It's all in the book. So I urge you to go out and check it out because it's got to be absolutely fascinating. Cherise, always amazing having you on the show. We could talk about this stuff forever if it wasn't so scary. So
It's nighttime here, so
Go turn all your lights on.
Barney.
Barney. I love it.
all right. Well, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you
Really
for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
And thank you for coming along on this journey of discovery with us, listener. Don't forget that you can find us on Facebook and Instagram under @Skeptic Metaphysician. As always, if you know someone that would benefit from hearing the messages we shared on this show or any of our others, I hope you'll consider sharing us with that person. It may help someone else come to terms with the fact that we're so much more than this three-dimensional body that we inhabit. If you're listening to this episode on the radio and you missed something, not to worry. All of our shows, including this one, can be found on our site, skepticmetaphysician.com. And don't forget that you can become a member of the Skeptic Metaphysician community there for free and enjoy added benefits of discounts for services from some of our past guests, as well as a chance to never miss a show immediately once it's been published. I hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as we have. It's all for now, but we will see you on the next episode of The Skeptic Metaphysicians. Until then, take care.